Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Batholkus, and this is Titans, Season 2, Episode 6, Connor. Um, Damn, that's all I can say. Before I get started here, let me get a little bit of business out of the way first. If you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you don't like what you can see, hit the dislike button. But I just ask you down below in the comment section, tell me what it is you don't like. Give me some constructive criticism, some feedback, if you will. Also, if you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. If you already hit the bell, don't hit it again because it will unclick it. You can go into the bell settings, get as many or as little notifications as you want. Um, I also have my schedule up on suspendedfanimation.com. It's also mirrored over my Facebook page. There's also a Facebook group that you guys can post stuff on, and you can share stuff and talk amongst yourselves, that kind of thing. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have a tier set up as of yet. That will change at the end of the year. So there we go. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late tonight. You know, life shit gets in the way. So that's what happens. And I had to take a little bit of extra time in order to get stuff going on there. And also I had to put on the crypto shirt, because the episode and whatnot. So, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the shit out of this episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. Thank you, Pen. Yeah, I mean, so also I want to get out of the way first here too. There's a lot of sites that I'm kind of pissed off at because they spoiled a lot of shit. Like as soon as it came out, as soon as the episode dropped, they spoiled a lot of stuff in their titles, and it's like, dude, you don't need to do that. Not in this show. I mean, come on, that's bullshit. Comic book resources, and yeah. Because that's just bullshit when you start doing stuff like that. The other thing that was kind of funny about this whole thing was DC Universe decided to do a little voting thing where they said, vote to see if Jason lives or Jason dies, because we left with a cliffhanger at the last episode with Jason falling 50 stories to his death. And people were voting, yes, he lives, yes, he dies. And it was split at 50-50. It was fairly close. And it was pretty funny because that actually harkens back to the old a death in the family line that was in the comics in the 90s. And there was a 900 number that you would call, because this is before internet was very prevalent. So people will call up a 900 number to see if Jason lived or if Jason died. And of course, he was overwhelmingly voted to die in the comic. So that one I thought was pretty damn funny. I, of course, voted for this Jason to live because I actually like this Jason. The Jason in the comics was really a dick. I mean, he really was. The Jason in the comics, yes, he does have a weakness for crowbars, exactly. But he deserved to die, quite honestly, in the comics. Not so in this TV series. I liked him. So let's get into it. So we start off at the end of season 1, where if you actually watch the end of season 1 of Titans, the very last episode, if you stayed through to the end of the credits, you saw Superboy emerge from his tube of goo and throw some scientists around, throw some security guards around, knocking them out, almost killing them, that kind of thing, and then breaking Crypto out. So we start off with that, with Superboy breaking out of his tube, grabbing Crypto, and breaking out of Cadmus. And then we see a Cadmus commercial where they're talking about everything that's good about Cadmus. And, it's, you can tell it's totally an indoctrination kind of thing. And then they're slipping in stuff like chemicals, you know, all this kind of stuff. It was pretty funny. And then we see this body hit the TV screen and just kind of obliterate it. And it's Connor throwing a security guard up against the screen. And he's naked, carrying some clothes, and he bends down and looks at Crypto's tag. He looks at the dog's dog tag and says, "Oh, Crypto, that's your name, huh?" And then he looks down at the clothes and sees Connor on the lapel and says, "I guess my name's Connor." And he goes, "Let's get out of here," kind of thing. And he pushes the door down and they leave. He walks out naked pretty much, but holding onto some clothing. So we see some two Cadmus suits. One is a woman named Eve, and she had just been out partying that night. She's still in her little red dress. And the other guy named Walter is they're surveying the aftermath of the escape and or Subject 13, as they said. And this is when Mercy Graves comes in and introduces herself and says that, she wants to know how Subject 13 escaped and Mr. Luther's, since it is Mr. Luther's experiment. Yeah. And Eve says, you know what, he's got the mentality of a 2-year-old. He's probably scared. He might be hiding someplace. He's experienced everything for the first time. He's like a sponge. He's absorbing everything in. We don't really know how he's going to react. And then we see Connor and Crypto walking out in the street, and Connor's looking around. He's just absorbing everything. And he kind of stops in the middle of traffic and then finally crosses the street and then absorbs some sunlight. You see him just standing out in the sun and absorbing some sunlight. And then he's seen an outdoor, not fair, but some outdoor vendors, and he sees a Superman shirt, a Superman, the S, as you can see, in red on black. And he wants the shirt. He picks it up, and the guy yells at him. The vendor goes like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And we see Connor get a flashback of an old guy screaming at him, and hitting him. And Connor cringes and goes, I'm sorry, I didn't know." And the guy's like, "That's okay, man. Just, you need to pay for it. It's $12.50 for the shirt, and he says, I don't have any money. Well, we don't have any money. And so the guy snatches the shirt from him and goes, well, come back when you do. Yeah. Yeah, he needed the shirt. Exactly, Penn. So we see Eve, we're cutting back and forth between Cadmus and him. And Eve says that, Subject 13 may have epigenetic memories from the lives of the two men that they were made from. And Walter says, well, what do you mean he's got memories? He's only been alive for 10 hours. And so she just explains that, that he might have memories of the two people that he's made from. Okay, sure. There is some basis, like a really minor basis for this. It's learned traits in mice and things like that in science. Yes, this does happen. And also in earthworms and things like that. But anyway, not to the degree of what we've got going on here. So Connor, we see, is witnessing a mugging in progress. He sees a woman with a guy's got a gun. He's holding up against a woman. He brings her into the alleyway, which, by the way, is an homage to the very first Superman movie. If you go back and watch it, it's kind of a nice little touch. And he tells Crypto to go and wait, and he goes and stops it. He bends the gun, and he grabs the guy and he says, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. He wanted my money. And he goes, oh, you have money? And he tosses the guy down the alleyway. He goes, I want money. Can I have your money? And she gets frightened and goes, here, take it. And she gives him her purse, and he's happy and walks away. So Eve is also telling Walter and Mercy that without being, able to observe him, because she's never dealt with anything like this before, she doesn't know how he's going to react. And she also reminds Mercy that Luther started this whole project without her and without her knowledge. And now that she's coming into it, she's basically, she warned him about the dangers of everything once she found out about this. And Mercy's like, okay, well, that's great. Then we're going to go out and we're going to take, we're going to find him and bring him in. So they're outside with Mercy's team, and they say that they need Mercy's team to bring him in, and they're outside with her soldiers. And Eve tells the troops that they can't kill him, that they need to bring him in alive because they spent so much money and all that kind of stuff. And Mercy tells Eve that she's going to go out there with them. And Eve's like, well, what are you talking about? No. I can just FaceTime them. She goes, no, they're going to need you out there. You're going to need to go with them. And she's like, oh, shit. All right. So Connor is walking down the street, and he's now got his new Superman shirt on that he was able to buy with the money that he took. And he hears something and goes and grabs Crypto, and they hide behind a planter, and we see one of the Cadmus vans drive by. And then another van comes up and parks, and it's got a wheat field on the side, and we see him have another vision. and it's a vision of the Kent farm and Ma Kent calling out for Clark and him hiding in the wheat field. And he tells Crypto that they're going to go home. And so we see a bus stop in a wheat field, and he gets out with Crypto out of the bus, and they're out in Kansas. And I love the little line he says, "Kansas, Crypto. I have a feeling we're in Kansas. It's not the we're not in Kansas anymore line." Well, thankfully they didn't do. I mean, granted, it was kind of a clunky line, but still, it was refreshing that they didn't go with the other line, the one that would have been more obvious. So Connor approaches the farm and he's telling Crypto that this is it, this is home. And Crypto is whining and trying to get, barks at him and is trying to warn him off. But he goes in and starts walking down the lane, and we see that it's actually the Luther farm. And there's an old blind guy up on the porch, and Connor says that he used to live there. And the old guy's like, "Really? What's your name?" And he tells him who he is. And he goes, "Well, I don't remember anybody by that name." Because I would have known. But he goes, "Why don't you and your dog come in out of the rain?" So he invites him in, and Connor goes in and says, "This place looks a lot different." He goes, "The kitchen used to be over there. There was a staircase," and he's describing everything. And uh, Lionel, we find out it's Lionel Luther, says, "Oh, that's the Kent farm down the road. That's what it sounds like. He and my son, Clark and my son Alexander used to be really good friends, or are good friends when they were growing up." And you know, a lion, Connor has another memory of Lex being abused again by Lionel, and he actually raises his hand to slap Lionel, kind of like what he was doing to Lex in the memory, and he stops. And of course, Lionel doesn't see this because he's blind, and invites him to dinner. So he has dinner, and afterwards he invites him to have a drink of brandy. He goes, "I only allow myself one drink," and he brings it over, and Connor tries it and immediately spits it back out into the glass because, he's only a couple hours old. It's not even a day old at this point. He was literally born yesterday. So, um, he tells Connor that he tried to talk to Lex, and there was something wrong inside. So at one point, he's Connor's asking him why he beat Lex, and he goes, "Is that what he told you?" He goes, "Did he send you here?" This kind of thing. And Lionel gets upset and tells him to leave, but he continues to talk about Lex, which is kind of a weird thing. And then he tells Connor that he tried to teach Lex, but there was something wrong inside of him. There was something missing inside of him. And that when, even no matter how long it took, basically how long he was beating him, all Lex would do was stare at him, which is, kind of frightening the way he was talking about it. I was like, damn, that's kind of vicious, actually. And also vicious that he was going at him that long, and, noticing that he had time enough while he was beating his own son to realize this. And yeah, damn. So Connor basically outbursts and says, that all he really wanted was his approval. And Lionel asks, "Who are you?" And just then the Cadmus soldiers burst in through the doors with their guns, tell him to, stand down. And Connor gets on his knees, puts his hand behind his head. And Lionel just goes off and says, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing breaking into my house?" And all this stuff. And one of the soldiers tells him to shut up and clips him with the back of his gun. And Connor's like, "What are you doing? Hey, don't hurt him." And then the soldier clips Connor in the back of the head, which you hear a resounding ding, because he doesn't do anything to Connor. It just kind of dings off of him. And Eve's like, "What?" And she's in the truck. We see Eve inside the truck, and she goes, "What the fuck did you just do? Don't hurt him." And Connor gets pissed at this point and just starts taking down guards. And they open up and start firing on him. And of course, he finds out that he's bulletproof. He also finds out he has super speed. And he actually stops some bullets from hitting Lionel. He jumps up as Lionel's going to get shot, and super speeds in front of them and takes him in the chest. And then Crypto even gets in on the act a little bit with some fire eyes there, and then also kills a soldier. He jumps on a soldier, and we see on Eve's monitor that his life monitor goes from green to red. So yes, Crypto has tasted blood now at this point. Yeah, and then there's a missile that gets fired into the house, And Crypto grabs onto the missile, spins it around, and throws it back outside, killing the soldier outside too. So he kills not one but two soldiers. And after they take care of all the soldiers inside the house, Connor looks outside and sees, the van outside. He uses X-ray vision to see Eve outside in the van. And he walks out there and Eve's like, no, 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 fuck this. And she gets inside the van and tries to start it up. And Connor uses his heat vision to disable the van. And she's hiding in the back. He rips the doors off and she says, please don't kill me. And then he's asked her who she's from, of course, and she's from Cadmus. And, he wants to know who he is, of course, too. And she says, well, that's kind of a complicated question. And, she says, oh, I'm one of the people that helped create you. And he goes, oh, so you're my mother. And she goes, no, not really. And she says, you're made from two people. And she goes, like the normal way, except this is two men. Well, one man and one Superman, as she puts it. And he wants to be his father's, of course. And Eve is getting phone calls at this point on her cell. And she's like, fuck it. We're going to go on the road, is what she says. Screw Cadmus. She actually says, fuck Cadmus. We're going out on the road. And, they're out on the road. They're going up to a cabin that she knows about. They're driving and, he's asking her questions and she's trying to simplify it for him. And at one point she tells him that, she made the plan to combine human and alien DNA, but she never acted on it. Someone else did. And that's what happened. And she said she could have left, but she decided that one good person should actually be there. And then she tries to talk about nuclear fusion. And she goes, well, you're not going to understand that. And then he starts spouting off the definition of nuclear fusion. And she becomes excited because, again, it's epigenic knowledge now, too. So, yeah. So, yeah. And then, of course, he asks her if he can call her mom. And she goes, don't be a smart mouth, which I thought was kind of funny. There was some good little lines in there. So Mercy is on the phone with Luther and says that they're tracking them as they speak. So as they're cleaning up the mess outside of Lionel Luther's farm there. So Eve is inside a little truck stop there and she's getting some food. And Connor notices this guy basically being verbally abusive to his girlfriend and then picking her up and he's going to throw her in the car. And Connor gets out. And just as he gets out of the car to go and handle this, Eve comes out and goes, nope, don't do it. Just let it happen. That's what she says, And he goes, why? And she goes, because there's consequences. If you do this, Cadmus finds us faster. They're going to find us anyway, but they're going to find us faster. And he doesn't know about consequences. So she teaches him about, or tells him about consequences in a very snarky way. And it pisses him off. And he's like, fuck it, we're out of here. And he grabs Crypto and he starts to leave. And she goes all mom on him and says, stop where you are. And he turns around and, asks, she asks him what was he going to do to this guy? Was he going to throw him through a wall? Was he going to punch him? And he says he doesn't know. And then he's like, don't know. Really loud, using the super voice, if you will, which sets off car alarms. And she's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you who you are and what you are. And we have another road trip out to San Francisco. Excuse me. And he wakes up in the car, in the truck, and she's drinking. And he's like, what are you doing? And she goes, having breakfast. And he goes, it smells like brandy. And where are we? And she tells him that they're in Cadmus Industries and welcome home. That's what she tells him. That the facility is empty because it was condemned after a chemical explosion that killed a couple of people. And she goes, this is the place that's Lex Luthor. She goes, this is basically Lex Luthor. So they walk down the halls and Connor reads one that says Project Rakasha. Raksasha. It's and he says, what is that? And she goes, don't ask. And Lex at one point had actually told her Oppenheimer's famous quote, but he kind of mangled it. He twisted it to his own ends, of course. He did it purposely. And she tells him this is where bad experiments happen, like Tuskegee, MK Ultra, the Nazis, and her work, is what she says. And he slaps the bottle out of her hand, and you know what she says? Lex wanted to clone Superman. She goes, but the alien DNA wouldn't hold up. So I had this idea that combine it with human DNA, and I told him about it. And he used his own DNA to do it. You're the result, is what she says. She goes, so if you want to know who you are, it's behind that door that only you can open. She goes, but I would advise against it. He really wants to leave at this point, but he opens the door anyway, and he sees all these tubes, these containers filled with mutated embryos. And he finds one, which is most likely subject number 12, that is mutated enough but still has a face that he can recognize as his own. And he comes over to Eve and says he knows who he is now, and he grabs her by the throat and picks her up. And he says, he basically asks her what the hell's the matter with her. And Crypto is barking at him, and she's telling him to stop, or she's trying to anyway. She's getting choked out there, and he finally snaps out of it and drops her and goes, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I mean, didn't try to kill you." And she goes, that anger inside of you could be, both men. We don't know for sure. Some of it's going to be you sometimes, some of it's going to be some of them. And she goes, but you're going to need to get underneath control, under control. And she asks him why he came out of the tank. Why did he take out the guards and the and the scientists? And he goes, well, I heard someone howling in pain. He goes, they were experimenting on Crypto. They were hurting them, and I wanted them to stop. And she says, well, that means, that you were listening to who you are. She goes, people are going to tell you who they are, but that's not who they are. Who they are is what they do. And she goes, that's what you want to do. And she goes, go, run, get the hell out of here. And he doesn't want to leave her, of course, and says, I want to protect her and protect you. And she's like, no, you're not gonna be able to protect me. Go and run. So he takes off, and Mercy and her team show up, and Eve, tells Mercy, oh my God, he tried to kill me, but I talked him out of it. And Mercy looks at him and says, bullshit. She goes, now we're going to do things my way. And she pulls out a clip of kryptonite bullets and slaps it into the gun. So Connor's walking the streets of San Francisco with Crypto, and they see this one guy beating the shit out of another guy on the street. And Crypto kind of whines at him. He goes, nope, we can't, boy. Sorry, we can't. And then he sees the scaffolding fall from the sky. And he looks up and sees Jason and Dick hanging out of the window there. He sees Dick hanging. And he sees Jason fall. And he ends up leaping. He actually leaps a couple times, leaps up the building, leapfrogs back and forth, catches Jason, and then falls back onto a car with Jason on top of him. And, saving Jason. And Jason asks, who the fuck are you? And he says, I'm not super sure. And when they get off the car, Jason's like, I don't know how to thank you. And just as he says that, we hear two bullets ring out, and Connor gets shot twice in the chest. And we actually have blood. And they're shocked. And Dick and Corey get down there just in time, and they're like, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. And we see off on the side, down the street a bit, Crypto, who now has a kryptonite collar on him, whining as we assume it's Mercy, is pulling him away. And that's where we leave off on that episode. So actually a really good introduction to Connor Kent there. I really kind of like the way they did this episode. And it moved along well. It didn't have to have a lot of exposition to it, quite honestly. But it still got the story across, and it moved it well. And we introduced some new characters too. Mercy Graves, we got Eve Watson. Yeah, we introduced Cadmus Labs as well a little bit more. So yeah. Uh, I asked before, but I'm not saying I didn't like this episode because I did. But did anyone else feel like there was 1 minute of Titans at the start and the end with a pilot for Super? Yeah, I kind of I felt that way too, Pen. So it did feel quite a bit like a pilot for Superboy, and I'm okay with that, especially if they're going to use these people, these actors. The actor who played Connor did a great job. He did an awesome job, and quite honestly, I liked the dynamic between Superboy and Crypto. To tell you the truth, I really dug it. So yeah, I would definitely be okay with that, especially since they're looking for another, episode to kind of fill the gaps here in DC Universe. So let me see what else you guys are saying back here, which I ignored completely as I was doing this. Osaro says, I get to smash ass with Batman every night. Jason Todd, referring to how he loves to beat up people with the Batman. I laugh every time I watch that episode. Jason is an all right kid. Yeah, I like the actor who's playing Jason, to tell you the truth. He's got a lot of life in him, a lot of sass character. He actually is a character I like compared to some of the other characters. He and Hank, I like Hank as well. Hank's a great character too. The other ones are just kind of boring CW-esque actors. I hate to say it. And then, of course, we got a really horrible person who says that he's Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Well, alien DNA will give you memories? Not really. Or use the blood test like the classic John Carpenter's The Thing. Nice. Let's see what else we got here. Is Superboy the same in the comics? So it depends on which comics you're reading, Joe Greer. It changes quite a bit because they keep changing the universe, DC universe, all the time, and they retcon how how Superboy comes to be, and also Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and blah 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 blah. Add on. So this is close to Young Justice, only without the aliens that have the little telekinetic control and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, telepathic control, I should say. Reminded me of Sigourney Weaver finding alien hybrid clones. Yeah, a bit. And I mean, this is they actually did this in the comics too, and the cartoon, where he found a whole bunch of different test subjects of him. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Remember, every show focuses in on characters like Thrones. Not really. I actually like this season a lot more than season one. Season one was a rough season, and that was because it was Akiva Goldsman. And now that he's off fucking up the Star Trek universe with Picard, and not paying any attention to Titans anymore, they can actually get back to rebuilding Titans the way it should have been done in the first place. And I'm okay with that. They retcon the entire thing because originally Akiva Goldsman was like, this is the beginning of Titans. They didn't exist before. And now season 2, they're like, nope, there was a version of Titans before this, and we all had to leave because Deathstroke killed a lot of people and fucked us up pretty badly. And I'm liking that a lot more, that there is a history to it. That the only thing I don't like is that Dick is still keeping secrets, because that's too damn CW for me, where they're keeping secrets again. None of the actors actually suck other than Bruce. Yeah. And the thing is, he's not a bad actor, Penn. Ian is not a bad actor. He's just got really shitty lines and not given any direction, you can tell. Joe Greer says, I remember how Black Canary was helping him on Young Justice. Yeah. So, yeah, Black Canary trained Connor in Young Justice. And it was kind of funny because he was like, well, you don't even have, any powers other than your voice. She goes, yeah, but I can still beat the shit out of you. Yeah. In my opinion, season 1 was disjointed and had short attention span, right? Yeah, EJAR. It was shitty writing. It had predictive writing to the point where I was actually saying the line about a minute before the character was actually saying it. That's how bad it was. And I'm so glad that Akiva Goldsman has moved on. He's just a producer now, and that's where it needs to be. I think Jeff Johns as well has left, and they've left it up to. I looked at the writer for this episode. I can't remember his name now offhand, but he's been writing the majority of these episodes this season, and that's why there's a narrative now, a cohesive narrative. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I will trade dick jokes for good writing any day. Yeah. Great use of the Bill Withers lovely day. Yeah. You're talking about the very end, right, Joker? Yeah. That was good. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I know next week we're having Bruce Wayne. And hopefully they breathe some life into this character, because quite honestly, I'm not feeling him as Bruce Wayne. I'm really not, and I can't see him as Batman, to tell you the truth. I don't know how they're going to do it. Ejar says, also, it was trying too hard to be edgy like the cool kids in failed movies. Yeah, exactly. The whole fuck Batman thing. Yeah, grow up. I mean, Akiva Goldsman is just, he has some very stunted emotional growth. Where is Alfred in this universe? Who knows? We'll probably find out next week, Mr. Roboto. Most likely he's dead. Considering the age of Bruce Wayne in this one, he most likely is dead. Yeah. Frozen. That's right. He's got MacGuffin's disease, where only Mr. Freeze can save him from the MacGuffin disease. Yeah. No one when he was working outside for the first time. Sorry, Joe. I didn't get what you said there. No, when he was working outside for the first time. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. Oh, for the song. For the song. Got it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when he's walking outside in the street. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, MacGuffin's disease. The MacGuffin's disease catches a lot of people in movies and TV shows, especially on the CW. The CW has a lot of MacGuffin's disease. Flash actually has it. They used it for their latest villain. He's got supposedly some kind of cancer that he was 99% filled with, that he needed dark matter in order to cure it. I was like, well, if he was filled with 99% of that cancer, that would make him one gigantic cancer, right? Just one big tumor. So the 1% is what, his brain? But yeah. Yeah. So good stuff. Just a reminder too, the very last episode of Titans here, when you guys leave comments and stuff like that, it will be for a drawing for the Titans poster here that I got from Comic-Con. Yeah. There you go. So yeah, and again, it's open to only people in the United States, the continental United States, because international shipping rates are fucking expensive. Not just expensive, they're fucking expensive. Yeah. So that's the reason why. I think Titans will work on CW. No, it won't. Because they have a lot of blood, they have a lot of swearing, they have nudity sometimes too, which is good. Ejar, I think they kill Alfred in the library with a leg flam. You're thinking of Serial Mom, Ejar. That was Serial Mom is the name of the movie with Kathleen Turner, which was a good movie, by the way. But yes, you're correct. I'm pretty sure Alfred just, plugged himself into a computer, and that's how he went. That's how he went out. So, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. You can also take a look at my webpage, suspendedfanimation.com, where I have my schedule up there. It's also mirrored on my Facebook page. There is a Facebook group as well where you guys can post stuff and talk amongst yourselves. And I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet. That will be at the very end of the year. I'll put that up there. Sorry, just trying to rehash old plots, seeing if I can get hired. Nice, HR. Tomorrow is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off. That's where I take the genre news of the week and any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about and talk about that stuff with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Come on in. Actually, Saturday Morning Blast Off is going to be moved a little bit to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The reason for that is Comic-Con decided to do pre-registration tickets is what it is. So I'm going to be stuck in a virtual lobby, I guess, tomorrow morning, waiting to get my tickets. So that's why I don't want to be stressed out and trying to put everything together. Yes, it's going to be a Saturday afternoon blast off. So, no, it isn't 2 parts per million, Mr. Roboto. So it's at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah. So hopefully I get my tickets and I don't have to deal with all that crap. I am going to be trying for a press pass again or press pass this year, I should say, not again, but this year. So yes, Joe Greer, you might get to catch it up live. That's right. You can pay someone to stand in line for you, Mr. Roboto. It's virtual, like I said, it's a virtual lobby. It's not an actual physical line. So I log in and I'm not giving someone my password and my login codes and all that stuff. So nope, it's online. Yeah. Thank God. If I had to wait in line for Comic-Con tickets, I would never go again. If I had to wait in a long, I mean, it's bad enough to wait in line while you're there for stuff, but to wait in line for tickets too, no. Hell no. Yes, there was a little bit of a bump in the subs. That's right, Penn. Thank you for reminding me. It's up to about 374 right now, is what we're at. About 374. We're creeping up towards that 400 mark. Thanks to Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot, people really love Mr. Robot. Even though it was a 2-year gap between seasons 3 and season 4, people love Mr. Robot. They really do. It's a good show. And quite honestly, that season premiere was awesome. The other thing that's kind of cool about it, so the way seasons are numbered for shows, so if you have an episode, like the first season is actually episode 101, is what they call it. And then, of course, the second episode is 102. Season 2 would be 201, 202, all that kind of stuff. So for season 4 of Mr. Roboto, Mr. Roboto, Mr. Robot, the first episode was 401, and the title of it was Unauthorized. So if you know anything about computers, all those 400 codes are actually error codes, is what they are. And so they've taken the error codes that those correspond to, that the season and episode correspond to, and use them as titles. And I thought that was actually genius that they did that. That was actually a lot of fun that they did that. So it's some nice stuff that Sam Esmail puts in. Yeah, I know it's some deep stuff there, isn't it? I'm thinking about buying the digital series on Google, even though the episodes drop the next day. For Mr. Robot, yeah, it's worth it. Quite honestly, Joe, it's a really good series. It's a very good series. Yeah, and I'll be reiterating that on the Mr. Robot panel, which is on Sunday. Sunday is Mr. Robot. Monday, I'm off. Tuesday is going to be another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And I believe I'm doing Primal on that one, the Gennady Tartakovsky new series Primal. Wednesday, I'm off. And then, of course, Thursday is going to be Feelings in Hallways, the CW DC overview, all those shows. which I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if anyone's really interested in it. There seems to be only like about uh 40 40 viewers for it, 40 viewers, which isn't a lot, quite honestly. And to put that whole thing together, just for a small amount of viewers, eh, I might kill it. Depends. YouTube is my number one. I finally started watching Prime. Oh yeah, you look nice. I don't know which new series I like more. Is it worth my time or Feelings in Hallways? Thank you, Penn. Yeah, is it worth my time? Also, isn't getting the numbers either. And quite honestly, they were never meant to really stick around. Um, they were really just kind of there to fill spaces until more shows came on during the fall. uh, yeah. Uh, Primal is what you're talking about, Joe Greer. Primal on Adult Swim has to give your attention. There's a lot going on. Yeah. Gennady Tartakovsky is a genius when it comes to animation and storytelling. If you can find it, and I believe it's on YouTube, he did the original Clone Wars. There were about 10-15 minute long shorts, and this was between episodes 2 and 3. So it actually filled in all the story between episode 2 and 3. And then the very last episode that he did of that Clone Wars led straight into episode 3. That is why General Grievous in the movie is wheezing all the time, is as a direct result out of what you see in the very final episode of the animated Clone Wars that Gennady Tartakovsky did. And it has to do with Mace Windu and what he did. Yes, that's exactly the reason why. It was actually canon. Lucas actually hired Gennady Tartakovsky to do those animated shorts, and they played, I forget what channel, I think they played on the Cartoon Network, as a matter of fact. And they played out, at one point, I remember I had them on VHS tape. Yeah, because this was before you could record, you didn't have DVRs and all that stuff as of yet. So yeah, I had all of those episodes on VHS tape. They were awesome. So I believe it's on YouTube now. I think you can find those on YouTube. Great animation, great story. That was the reason why I actually went and saw episode 3, was because of that whole story. I thought it was going to be good. That I was like, oh, Lucas hired this guy to do this. Maybe Lucas got his head out of his ass and he was going to do no, didn't happen. Didn't happen. Sorry. Yeah. Would I review a Crypto the Superdog movie? Probably not. I mean, Crypto's okay. Don't get me wrong, I like the super animals, Streaky, Comet. I'm losing one here. So I know that Crypto is Superman's dog, Streaky is Supergirl's cat, Comet is the horse, and there's another one that I'm forgetting about right now. There's another super animal that's out there. And I like those. I mean, those all came out in the 70s. Crypto came out earlier, of course, but yeah, I have a soft spot for those things. Well, there's Ace the Bat Hound, yeah, and Ace the Bat Hound is going to make an appearance in the Crisis crossover in the CW. Yeah, Superboy has a spaceship on Young Justice. Well, not really, but yeah, it's an alien. It's one of the new god aliens, is really what it is. So, yeah. I like the little Boba Fett arch when he was trying to get payback on Mace. Oh, the arc. So, anyway, this kind of devolved a little bit into other stuff we'll be talking about tomorrow. So we can talk about all this stuff tomorrow. I'm going to let you guys go for the evening. Thank you, everyone who joined me tonight in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. And I will see you tomorrow for Saturday afternoon blast off. That's right. Not really an SBO preview. We can talk about this stuff too on there. That's the whole thing. I just start going off and diarrhea of the mouth kind of thing. So until tomorrow, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that Cadmus is tracking you, but we still don't know how. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.